Welcome to Series 1, Coronavirus Lockdown. This is an archive of live video Q&As streamed online, dating back to the 26th of March 2020, only 3 days after the UK government announced the lockdown. We set up a Facebook group for local businesses to find support during the coronavirus chaos that followed. In this first episode, I chat to James Fry from Garbutt and Elliott Accountants. It was only 3 days after furlough, loans and grants had been announced, and I threw it all at him. James is great. He's one of very few accountants who really gets your business and asks you the important questions. Enjoy. Welcome to the Johnny Ross Audio Experience. I'm Johnny Ross, founder and digital marketing strategist of Fleek Marketing. Each podcast I'll be bringing you an expert to inspire you, to give you some great business growth takeaways, and to get you thinking about marketing and the bigger picture of how businesses can improve, adapt and grow. I look forward to sharing this with you on each podcast, so here we go. Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us. So not sure if you're watching this on replay. It would be really good to know if you are. Just put hashtag replay so that I know. We're live streaming on YouTube this morning, and we're also live streaming in our Facebook group. So if you've not been over to our Facebook group yet, it's the Coronavirus Business Support Group. And it will be great for you to pop over there and join the group. So this morning we're delighted to welcome James Fry from Garbutt and Elliott Accountants. We're going through some really tough times. There's lots of we don't even know what to ask. I don't think. James, what's your main position at Garbutt and Elliott?
Supporting clients, basically. It is challenging times for everybody. Everybody's got loads of questions. My initial caveat with everybody is we don't have all the answers. You know, there's a lot of government announcements going on where it's the big picture announcement and the details come in later. So hopefully we can have a chat about a couple of bits, a couple of practical things businesses can be doing to sort of help cash flow. And, a few resources that I've also picked up along the line. And, if anybody wants to speak directly, there's things I'm happy to share as well.
And we're actively looking for people to ask questions. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, please comment. We'll see the comments. We can answer questions. It'll be really nice to know that you're there actually, and that you're watching, and that you're and that if you've got any questions. And we've already got one here. Not sure who it's from, but I'll just show you. God help you, James Fry, trying to navigate this shit show. That's from a Facebook user. I think if you're on YouTube, it'll show your name. If you're on Facebook, it won't. So if you want your name showing, just put your name in the comment as well, and then we can see what you're saying. Yeah, tough act there. I want to say
thanks, Mum, for that one. But
but no, on a serious note, there's a lot of panic. It's unprecedented times. No one knows what we should be doing. How's it affected you? How's the last 2 weeks been, James?
Hectic, and kind of slightly chaotic. Really, everything's as accountants, we like to be proactive and be on the front foot to help our clients, but we can't help but be reactive at the moment because news is changing and changing fast, and obviously just the UK situation changing, but the government announcements for business support changes daily. We've got news coming out this morning that's been knocking around for a couple of days as sort of a rumour, or people have been keeping an eye on it, to do with support for the self-employed. And the news is reporting this morning that we'll get that announcement tonight, which is fantastic news for self-employed people, definitely. And it seems to be along the lines of the employment announcement or similar to that. Friday just gone, but with Thursday, we're less than a week away from Friday, and that feels like, I don't know, a month ago already. Days are very long. Having lots of conversations with people, everybody's got the same questions, everybody's got the same worries. So we are all in this together, I guess. Not wanting to sound like a government voice piece, but that's the bare facts of the truth. And businesses supporting one another, and groups like this that you set up, Johnny, it's a great thing to do, to try and share some resource knowledge and help around.
There's a huge amount of government advice coming out. In fact, we were talking yesterday, James, and you had a comment to say about the government advice. What were you were talking about? How in effect it was quite easy to read.
Yeah, I think if you look at some of the resources, HMRC generally is not. It's not the easiest website. I tend to have to ask, particularly some of the technical articles. Some of my how would I put it? Some of my colleagues who can understand the lingo a bit more. I think that HMRC, it's never really been clear English, but I think they've really got it quite well this time. If you pick up the pages, it's quite easy to understand. There's as with anything, there's still a bit of detail there to sort of pick up on, but I think the layperson can see where the government's trying to get to with it, and they're trying to make it easy as possible for everybody to access.
And the best way to get that, I think, is just googling Gov business coronavirus, and having read a lot of it, I completely agree with you. It is a lot easier to read than normal. And that can be quite helpful. If you do have questions, I'm going to come to them shortly. Please put them in the chat. If you want me to mention your name or your brand, put that in there as well. If you're on Facebook, I can't see your name, so just mention it in the comments. If you're on YouTube, you can do the same, and feel free to share this, comment, etc., etc. We were just talking about the advice that the government are giving. My biggest worry is that a lot of the advice that they're giving, it sounds quite good in a way, or certainly some of the initiatives that they're announcing, they sound very good. They sound very easy, and they sort of feel like potentially I can just pick up the phone or send an email and the weight's lifted. Is that the case, James?
In some respects, yes. We've had a client who's already had the rates payment back, so that's a big win already. If you look on Leeds Council, a lot to do with the rates where it's qualifying. That is, they will contact you rather than you having to pick up the phone and do it. The big thing is, the big thing everybody wants to know about is the employee payments, and the thing that it's been announced. It was announced Friday. There was a bit more clarity Monday, but it's clear that the revenue systems aren't in place yet, and it looks like it's not going to be in place till April, really. So, it's the big one. Everybody wants to know what to do. Employees want to know what to do. Everybody wants to know where they stand and how we're going to get paid. But at the moment, it's a race against time.
I know that we're all in a difficult position, including yourself, and there's guidance, but there's not fact. If it's coming to the end of the month, payday for a lot of people, potentially is the 28th or the end. What are you saying to people? Is there any advice you're giving on what's the reality? Just give us the reality, James. It's fine.
I don't know. It's cash. It's a drain on cash, isn't it? Because it looks very much like businesses will have to continue to pay the employees, whether they're furloughed or not yet. And it's got to be clear that furloughed employees are not working. So it's going to be a drain on cash either way. And then it looks like it will be a reclaim via a grant from the government.
So the advice is
we don't know how that's going to work.
Well, potentially, the advice is if you've got staff and let's say, for example, you furloughed them, between yourselves, maybe a week or two ago. If you have the cash, then you, in effect, should pay them up to 80% because you will be able to claim it back. There's no process in place for that, but as long as in a sort of an official way you have furloughed them, i.e. maybe sent them a letter, or I'm assuming that could be the case. Does that sound potentially the way to do it? James is busy reading, aren't you?
Broadly speaking, no, it is a broadly speaking way. The calculation of the 80% isn't 100% clear. The thing I'm looking at, the ICAW, the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales, have published. It's a very good resource for. I think anybody can go access it. They published something yesterday of their understanding of the guidance, and to be honest, they're caveating it, saying, this isn't advice. This is just how we think it works. And obviously, I've got to say the same thing with anything here. because it's not potentially clear, but there's some illustrated examples there of how it would work. So I kind of want to point anybody towards that. Maybe
is that something that's public? Is it?
Yeah, I'll just see if I can.
So we can grab that afterwards, James, and we can put it in the comments below. But that's from the ICAW, is it?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So it could be just even going on their website. But what we'll do is we'll get the link afterwards and we'll put it in the comments. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no problem. I suspect that advice there will change. It's same rules as outlined in official statements 23rd of March, and the text was updated yesterday. I expect there might even be a change to it today. So keep an eye on it.
James, there must be some practical stuff that we could do. So as a business owner, whatever's happening, what's the things that we should be thinking about?
Cash flow, as usual, and that should be a business as usual thing and always be number one on your agenda. Cash flow is king in all businesses. So, keep on top of it. Now is the time to stay on top of your figures. If people are looking at applying for loans, even with the government underwriting, there's still commercial business loans and the application procedure is the same pretty much, even though possibly fast tracked, but you've still got to provide the financial evidence that the business is viable and can afford the loan. So staying on top of your numbers, staying on top of cash flow.
So give us some practical what could simple things to protect cash flow. What to the small business owner, what are the simple things that we could be doing?
Regularly look at it. Manage your debtors, look at who's owing you. I guess everybody's in the same position with worried about who's going to pay them, who they're going to pay. So have open conversations with your customers. See who's going to struggle to pay you. See who can pay you.
So chase as much as you can is what you're saying. Yeah. And try and bring in payments as quickly as you can. And I guess whilst you've got to work with each other, you've also got to look after yourself. And if someone does owe you a significant amount, I guess you've got to be having some tough conversations.
Yeah, exactly. And some of those debts would have been, accrued, a few weeks ago when we weren't in the position we are in. So there would have been a genuine commercial contract at the time and, still valid. So, the other thing to look at is the opposite end of that. Look at your costs. If you've got borrowing, if you've got funding already, speak to your lenders, see what you can do. The personal level, the sort of mortgage information's been presented. Again, another thing from the revenue, there was the announcement about VAT and the deferment of VAT payments for a year or so. The big tip there is if you're on a direct debit arrangement, ensure you cancel that. Otherwise, the revenue may take the funds accidentally.
Was that right? Were you saying a year?
It's to the end of 2021 tax year. Yeah. So,
right. Wow. And so if you have a VAT bill coming up, or if you're about to be submitting a VAT bill, or whatever stage you're in, is the message that you don't actually need to speak to HMRC at this stage? The key thing is the key thing is just stop the direct debit.
Correct. Yeah, you still need to fulfil your statutory obligations, which is filing your VAT return on time. If you still want to, you can still pay it. It's entirely up to you as a business. If you've got the cash, I'm sure the UK economy would be appreciative if you funded it, and and this would help out some of the support there. But there's no requirement to contact the revenue. There's no penalties for not payment. It is cancel the direct debit. But again, look to the future. Look to future cash flow as well. If you're building some cash flow models, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 months, you need to build these future liabilities in as well. If you're not paying them now, the other things with the revenue, if you've got corporation tax liabilities coming up and cash flow is going to be a struggle, then that would be a contact the revenue and ask for a time to pay arrangement as well. I understand that they're being quite open and
for corporation tax, you do need to contact the revenue first.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for a time to pay arrangement. Yeah, any time to pay. The VAT sits outside of time to pay, but So PAYE and corporation tax, they fall under time to pay.
And so likewise, you just brought PAYE up there. So that would be the same story, that if that there's no reason why you'd be stupid in a way unless you had the cash, and unless you were sort of predicting cash flow. But you'd be stupid in a way not to not have a conversation with the HMRC ASAP and say, look, I don't want to pay my PAYE at the end of this month.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's not particularly clear as well on this job retention scheme how PAYE falls into that either. That might just be a gap in my reading, to be honest. So there's a few things up in the air and a few unanswered questions that I think in the next couple of weeks will all start to drop into place.
But potentially the proactive step is to, if you don't have the cash, is to first of all not worry about paying it, and second, for PAYE as an example, and second of all to make an attempt to ring them so that they've got your note on file and can deal with it when there's time, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, as with any business at any time, if cash is a struggle, I think you need to measure the size of the beast and sort of see what it is that you're facing, and then what the challenge is. Yeah. Get the support from advisors wherever you can, and start to measure, and then at least the size of the task rather than ignoring it.
Where does self-assessments come into any of this at all? Personal tax?
Yeah, so it got announced that the self-assessment payments on account due 31st of July are being deferred to 31st of January 2021.
And do we? So I'm assuming there that we don't need to do anything. And
correct. Yeah, that's my understanding on that as well. That's just an automatic deferment, no interest, no penalty.
And that'll be due. And that'll be due in January.
Correct. Yes.
But then I assume that the problem with that is that you'll then have another personal tax bill in January anyway.
Yes.
So
correct.
So it's then about thinking. It's then having. I guess there'll be ways to have a conversation with them to then put some payment plans in place.
Potentially. Well, it depends how long this lasts and when we recover out of it, and depends how cash flow looks at that point. Who knows?
Let's just go to a couple of the comments. Thanks. If you've got questions, please ask. And if you're watching this on the replay, please do #replay. Just put that in the comments. If you're on Facebook and you've got a question, please ask us. I can't see your name or your company. If you want to put that in the comment, feel free to do so, and I can mention it. And on YouTube, feel free to do the same. So we've got our first question here. This is from Shelley at Smart Gallery. I think the hardest thing for me is not being in control and not having specific dates when we will receive actual money. I'm waiting for a grant and 80% salaries. We've discussed that in a way. And any thoughts on that, James?
There's nothing really I can say. It is like everybody's in the same boat. I guess it's everybody, just about everybody I will speak to will be applying for the same things at the same time. So I guess the system's going to be overloaded and overworked. He said that's no comfort to you, Shelley, but
I feel
will show.
I feel that that I guess the applying common sense, because when you're in these positions, the best thing to do is always apply common sense. And I think the reality is, if you have the money and you can afford it, the government have made it very abundantly clear you are going to receive this back. And so I think if you have the money and you can afford it, I guess you pay. As a business owner, I guess my decision would be to pay it. If I don't have the money and I'm worried about money and I'm worried about affording it, I think it's just a really sensible conversation with your employee or employees and saying, look, we're in the crap. You are going to get this money. I physically don't have it to pay you, and I'm really sorry. And we're just going to have to work through this. Or maybe there's a part payment. And I guess as a business owner, that would be my common sense approach. But I realise that it's difficult as an accountant to give a official guidance because there's no official guidance. That sound fair?
You've pretty much summed it up there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Shelley's also said that she's emailed LeadsGov my bank and rates info, already hoping to rush it through. I don't know if you know the answer to this, James, but I certainly have spoken to the council and do have an official answer on this.
Okay. It'd be good to hear. As I mentioned just briefly earlier, we have had a client who's had a payout that was quite quick. I don't know if it was quite early last week, so I'm guessing they were quick off the mark with it. But I'd be interested on your thoughts, Johnny, if you've spoken to the council as well.
Yeah, so they've set up what they're calling a COVID-19 emergency response group, and it's for a small group of business leaders and council execs to try and really proactively think about how we can share as much information, the right information, across as many communities as possible. And I was on one of those calls yesterday, and they are inundated with emails, they're inundated with phone calls, and they're struggling with it all. What they are doing is they're creating an online form, and that form will be live within they're hoping the next couple of days, and it will be literally a simple submission of your details with your bank details. They get the money from so they don't get the money from the government until the 1st of April, but on the 1st of April they can then start triggering payments. So what they're really after immediately is bank details, but they're making it abundantly clear: don't email them, don't phone them, wait for this link. It's going to be hopefully communicated in lots and lots of different ways. We'll certainly be communicating it in our group, and it's literally just an online form, and payments will follow soon after. And that's for the bit that I'm not quite sure on is this is for the what grant? This is, what do you call it? The not rental, the rate grant. Is that correct?
Yeah, it sounds like what you're talking about. Yeah, that's the bit the council look after. Yeah. They're just looking on the website. Unless it's the £10,000 grant. I know you were with the council yesterday. So was it the grant?
So
small business rate relief already, or is it for qualifying businesses?
So my lack of knowledge is I'm not sure which one, but I assumed that I thought so.
On you now.
So you help me out, James. Which one do you think it is that I've just explained?
Pass. Pass.
If anyone's watching and they want to comment, please do. But hopefully, what I've explained will resonate with some people. Got another question here. Heard that PAYE and pensions won't be deductible on the furlough element of wages, though nothing official from the government yet. Any thoughts on that, James?
No.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, and I think we're just going to have to wait and see, aren't we?
I think that's right. It would logic would dictate, why would they repay something to then take it back again at the other end? It's a bit of circular cash there, but yeah.
Have you had any conversations around insurance at all, James, with any of your clients?
No, it's not something I get massively involved with, to be honest. In terms of cash flow, we've got a few. We've obviously published a few marketing materials, as accountants like to do, to share out. And one of the cash flow things on there and communicating with people is checking your business interruption insurance to see if it's covered by this. There's some ums and ahs about whether it is, and what the impacts of the disease is covered by. It's not my area, to be honest.
But what you've just mentioned though is you have developed a cash flow tool. I saw it yesterday. It looked really, really helpful. What we'll do is we'll see if we can share a link to that afterwards. So if someone from G&E is watching, or we can just add that link afterwards. And it's just a really simple cash flow tool that will help businesses. Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're going to go for this, how do you pronounce it? This acronym, SIBILS. This is the Coronavirus Business Interruption Loan Scheme. Any way to pronounce? Is there how are people pronouncing it? SIBILS?
Don't know. I'd go CBILS.
CBILS. Okay, CBILS. My understanding is that if you are going for a loan, you have to have quite a detailed cash flow, and so that tool that you've created would be really helpful. Do you have any knowledge of the CBILS scheme at all?
Well, I touched on it earlier. It is just a traditional loan, by the looks of things. There's 40 plus accredited lenders, so the traditional banks. A good place to look is the British Business Bank website. Something as a firm where we're supporting our clients with applying for, because it is, there's quite sizable loan sizes out there. So, you know, it needs to be considered that it is a loan. It is to be repaid. It is under commercial contracts, and, you know, interest rates could vary from bank to bank. So I think that's something where you should speak to your, you know, advisors and get proper business advice on it, rather than just sort of applying yourself.
And again, we're in such early days that the stories out there that some banks are asking for personal guarantees, even though the government have said that they're going to guarantee it. But as you've said, it's a commercial loan, so it's up to the bank how they handle this.
Yeah,
and as you've just said yourself, the interest rates are variable, so every bank will have their own interest rates. Hopefully low, but there could be some competitive. What are you aware of the numbers? So the minimum that you can take out, and the detail on that. I've thrown you in the deep end here, haven't I?
I'm just pulling up my information here, so I don't want to get anything wrong.
I know you don't, and as an accountant, under regulated. I know I'm putting you on the spot, and I know that the advice is only fresh. My understanding, I'll give you time to read and confirm, is that the minimum that you can take out under the CBILS scheme is 25k, and I guess that's going to be quite frightening for a lot of small businesses out there, because you know, Boris has sort of made it feel like you can just come and get a loan and we'll solve all your cash problems. And so a lot of small businesses are sort of probably thinking, oh, right, well, okay, you know, I'm probably short by 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 grand. Sounds like the government are just going to give it me, and that, you know, and it's interest free, and I don't need to pay it back for 12 months and all of this stuff. But correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you've had some time to read that, but it is a minimum of 25k, or you've not found that yet.
I haven't found that yet. I'll let you.
And the other part of my understanding is that you can only claim up to the maximum of double your annual wage bill. So, you know, if depending on how many staff you've got and depending on what your wage bill is, you can double that. Sorry, I'm just seeing a comment as well. You can double that, so you can only claim up to that maximum. So what that's sort of saying is, if the I think it's a quarter of your the reason I've got the 25k, by the way, is it's a quarter of your turnover, and the minimum is 25k. So if you're only turning over 99k, then you're unable to whereas if you're turning over 100k, you can do your 25k, assuming that's no more than double your annual wage bill. I think I'm right. I'm not regulated by the financial ombudsman, so therefore I can't get into too much trouble. And James can hopefully confirm that later on. Anything you have found out about that scheme whilst you've been looking at all? Let's move away from that scheme.
The security side of it. Sorry?
You carry on.
Can you hear me okay still?
Yeah.
Okay, the security it is saying at the discretion of the lender, the scheme may be used for unsecured lending for facilities of 250k and under. But, you know, there's, as you say, there's been sort of reports in the press, you know, can't speak for specific cases or anything I've come across, but, you know, the thing sort of to repeat again, you know, it is a commercial loan, so take the advice.
And I think the advice out there is that if 25k is way more than you were even imagining, then it's worth just speaking to your bank and just seeing what other commercial loans are available, whether it be overdrafts. We've got a question here. Morning, guys. Thanks for putting the time aside to help us this morning. We founded our limited company just less than a year ago. We don't have premises, don't pay business rates, so not sure where that leaves us with grants. If there are any other help we can get besides SSP, if we need time off for illness. James, any thoughts on that at all?
It's difficult to get their full personal case there, it sounds like there's no employees in that business. I'm not 100% sure though, from the details.
The two grants. So perhaps just tell us about the two different grants, that just to make it a bit clearer, because even I'm unsure about the grants. So what grants are there?
There's going on Leeds City Council. There's a small and medium business size £10,000 cash grant will be available to small businesses that pay little or no business rates and are eligible for small business rate relief or rural rate relief. If you're eligible, we'll contact you early in April. So that's I think that's the one that you were alluding to earlier.
And just to help me understanding, what does it mean by small business rate relief? What does that? Because that's nothing new. That's something that's talked about a lot, isn't it? It's standard stuff. What's just help me understand what small business rate relief is, to therefore help me understand if I'd be eligible for that.
Well, it's small businesses aren't paying rates.
So this is for businesses that don't pay rates already.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I don't mean to be throwing you on the spot. I thought
Yeah, so small business rate relief, you can get it if your property's rateable value is less than 15k.
So if you don't have premises, then you're not going to be in that category. Is that correct? Because what you've just read out there is that it's if you've got a property where the rate is less than 15k, isn't it? So I'm assuming that therefore, if you don't have a premises, then you're not.
Pass. I'm unclear on that.
Okay.
I'll pass. Okay.
That's fine. So how's it going at G&E? I mean, how many staff are there in total?
The team is, I think we're about 195 now across the two offices.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're based in two locations, is that right?
We're based in Leeds City Centre and York.
And so what's happened? Are anyone still in the office or people at home? What's the
Leeds office? We closed last Friday. Everybody's working from home, but pretty much all our colleagues working remotely. We're taking advantage of new technology, using Microsoft Teams to conduct client meetings, catch up with one another. So on cloud tools, so for accounting, so you likes of Xero, Receipt Bank, etc. So kind of used to a little bit of working remotely to advise clients. So we've been geared up to it maybe a bit longer than some of my other colleagues. But it's a new world and new ways of working, and it seems to be working.
What percentage would you say of your businesses that you look after are in the cloud for their accounts?
Me personally, I would say about 80%.
Okay, so that's good, because then 80% of them are sort of prepared in some way for things like this, where they can access data at home and be able to manage, and they're not stuck with paper, I guess. But then at the same time, you've got that 20%. You've got that 20% where they aren't in the cloud. Are they the ones that are finding it more difficult, I assume?
Not so much. I think most people are on servers as well anyway. So I guess if they're not using an actual cloud accounting software like a Xero, QuickBooks, or Free Agent, etc., if they're on other which have been more traditional desktop packages such as Sage, I think a lot of businesses now use servers anyway. So I don't think remote access providing that much information.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if we've got any more questions at all, but feel free to ask. So I think the key message you're giving, to be fair, and I've pushed you on a lot of things, and I know none of us have the answers. But the key message is cash flow, isn't it? And what you're saying is to bring in as much money as you can, to reduce as much money as you're spending out, and to sort of keep an eye on the cash, to cancel your direct debits if you're on VAT, to speak to proactively speak to the government if you're on if you've got corporate tax coming up, or if you've got PAYE coming up that you want to put a time to pay on. In fact, we've got a Facebook user here agreeing with you with regard to the limited company 10K. Indeed, the info is unclear. Though I did notice it says you don't need to do anything to claim. You'll be contacted directly if eligible. All they have that's assuming they have the info. So I guess the answer is if you don't hear anything, then you won't be getting anything. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's potentially. We'll certainly share this link that Leeds City Council are talking about, and that'll be in the next couple of days. Is there any other areas that as a business owner that we need to be thinking about? How are you finding it working from home, James?
All right. I have 2 young children, so I think they're excited to have Dad home. But my commute from the kitchen to my eldest son's bedroom on a morning, which I've taken over for the day to work, is it's a bit shorter. I don't know. Yeah, on a personal level, it's good to not have that commute to work actually, and get a bit of extra time with my kids on a morning and evening. Is that looking for silver linings as best you can. That's definitely a big one.
Yeah, and from a mental health point of view, are you concerned about being confined to 4 walls? And I'm
lucky that I've got a garden and can get in. You look out the window and wow, it's lovely out there at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, we're lucky in that way. I agree.
Yeah. I don't know. One of the best things about working at the firm I do at Garbutt and Elliott is our culture and the people culture we have. So colleagues are massively supportive. We all get together and have a chat. In terms of my team that I work with directly, we're having a virtual beer we're having a meet up on Friday and all having a beer together to see the end of the week. But I'll be honest, it's that busy at the moment, looking after clients that I haven't got time to think about anything else.
I think those virtual beers though are a brilliant idea, and I think I've been doing a lot of those Skype calls. We're doing one on we're calling it 11s, Monday 11s. Yeah. Every Monday 11 o'clock. You can just Zoom calls. You can just get on with a load of people. We're all in the same boat. We're all wanting to help and support. If anyone wants an invite to that, just let me know and pop into the Facebook group if you're not already in there. So that's the Coronavirus Yorkshire Business Support Group. And as I said, if you want an invite to the 11s, we're doing it every Monday at 11. And I think it just gives you that opportunity to talk to other people, to see some faces, to interact. And I think that some of that stuff's really important. Last thing we were talking about, James, I was on a call, as I said, with the council yesterday, and on that call was some of what you described as the biggest Leeds institutions. We were talking about the Jumbo Records and the Brudenell Social Club and Leeds Markets. These companies, these organisations are trying to work out how to survive, and it would just be a great loss to lose some of these people.
Oh, massively. Yeah, before I became an accountant, I had a career in retail for a few years. So it's something that's very close to my heart, and it's the industry that's getting hit the hardest. And the businesses that are going to survive it are already big and huge anyway. The supermarkets, the Amazon of the world, and the independent guys who make a city unique. Every city has the likes of Lane's Espresso, Jumbo Records. The markets, your Brudenell Social Clubs, places where people go and make the city what it is, and make people come and visit the city as well. It's just going to be horrible place to be if these places go. So, I know some places sort of crowdfunding online. I'd seek it out and support your independent businesses if you can do, because they're the ones that where. They're owner managed, the people who are, like us, trying to make the best in the world and, and do something for themselves and their families and need support. Yeah.
And ultimately, the reason that you've done this, and I know I've thrown you in the deep end a few times, and I really do apologise for that, by the way. But my real understanding of that is that you are financially accountable, and so you've got to make sure that you're giving the right advice, and so I get that. But ultimately the real reason that you're doing this is knowing you for a number of years, you are ridiculously passionate about helping small businesses, and I guess you're just wanting to be there to be a helping friend to see if you can give some advice.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've got a lot of clients to look after. They're the ones to do. But if anybody's not getting advice and they need a bit of help, need a bit of support, need a bit of guidance, then you can find me easily enough on the internet. I'm sure.
Where would we find you, James, if we wanted to find you online?
I tell you what, it's the easiest way to get me. I work for Garbutt and Elliott, so if you were to Google James Fry Garbutt and Elliott or James Fry Accountant, even, I think you'll find me fairly there. I have a Twitter handle at James Fry ACCA, and LinkedIn, all the usual places.
And what we'll do is we're going to wrap up now. What we'll do though is we'll put some of the links that we mentioned in the comments below. Please feel free to share this. As I said, if you're not already in the group, then just search for the Coronavirus Yorkshire Business Support Group. Is there anything else that you want to add? Any final message or thought, or for these small owners, these small business owners that are panicking? Is there any final just?
Yeah, stay close to your numbers. You've still got, there's been extensions and deferments here and there announced by the government and, financial support. But I think the key message is you still need to fulfill your statutory obligations as business owners, still need to report and file all these things. And by doing so, it looks like you'll get more access to the support. The VAT thing's quite interesting, that the deferment, if revenues are drying up but expenditure's still happening, it may be next quarter after this done, you might be in a position for a repayment. So, that again helps cash flow. So you want to stay on top of filing this time's VAT return, even though it's not been paid, to potentially be able to get a reclaim perhaps next time. You don't want to leave all the paperwork and everything there for another time, because who knows how long this is going to last and how much additional support might be needed or you might need to apply for.
And we're also hoping that today is the day for the self-employed and freelancers. We're hoping that there's some news that comes out, and that's certainly what's bubbling along the media, and it does sound like there's certainly something going to come out today, and let's see what happens. But for those people that feel that they're in that gap, hopefully today's your day, and there's something there to help you.
That'd be great news if so. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, listen, thanks everyone. Well, James, let's start with you. Thanks so much for giving your time up. I know how busy you are, but I also know how passionate you are about helping businesses. It sounds like James is there if you want to speak to him. Just Google him, as he said, James Fry Accountant. He works for Garbutt and Elliott. If this was helpful, please let me know in the comments. Please share it. I'm going to do some other interviews with some other areas of business support, so that we can try and help you all, and we will get through this. It's just going to be a bit tough, but keep safe. Don't go and play in the parks. Don't go and go out in groups and have barbecues. We look blum and stupid to the rest of the world. Let's solve this problem quickly, and let's help each other. Thanks so much for joining us again, James. Thanks for coming, and we will see you all soon. All right, take care.
Take care, thanks.
You've been listening to the Johnny Ross audio experience. Thanks so much for joining me. If you want to continue the conversation, head over to my website, fleek.marketing, or find me on LinkedIn. That's all for today. Please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, tag me in your social media posts, and please leave me a review on iTunes. It will make a huge difference for me. I will see you soon.